The scent of espresso and leather has become my oxygen over the past 4 years. I inhale it now as I stand outside Jacopo Moretti's office, my tablet pressed against my chest like a shield, waiting for him to finish his phone call. Through the frosted glass door, I can see his silhouette, broad shoulders, one hand gesturing as he speaks rapid Italian into his phone. Even his shadow commands respect. My fingers trace the edge of the tablet unconsciously, a nervous habit I developed somewhere between my first week as his personal assistant and the moment I realized the import business he ran wasn't quite as legal as the marble-floored headquarters suggested. 4 years, 48 months of organizing meetings that never appeared on any calendar, memorizing escape routes I pray we'll never need, and keeping secrets that could destroy entire families. The door opens without warning. Jacopo doesn't look at me as he returns to his desk, but his voice cuts through the silence with precision. The Salvatore meeting. Confirmed? 7 o'clock tonight at the warehouse on Via Tortona, I reply, following him into the office. Marco will have the perimeter secured by 6. I've arranged the alternate route through the service tunnels in case Ferrante decides to make an appearance. He finishes my sentence, finally looking up at me. His eyes are the color of storm clouds over Milan, gray and impenetrable. You think too much like them, Jasmine. It's not a compliment, but coming from Jacopo Moretti, it's the closest thing to praise I'll receive. I've learned to read the subtle shifts in his expression, the way his jaw tightens when he's calculating risk, the almost imperceptible narrowing of his eyes when someone has disappointed him. 4 years of studying a man who shows nothing to the world has made me fluent in his silence. Someone has to, I reply, setting the tablet on his desk. The catering for tonight's gala needs final approval, and your mother called again about... Tell her I'm busy. I've been telling her that for 3 weeks, Mr. Moretti. She's threatening to show up at the office. A ghost of a smile crosses his face. Gone so quickly I might have imagined it. Then I suppose I should attend this gala before she stages an intervention. The Santini Foundation Gala. Milan's most prestigious charity event, where the city's elite gather to drink champagne worth more than my monthly salary and pretend they don't know where half the attendees' money comes from. I've been to 7 of these with Jacopo, always 2 steps behind him, invisible in my black dress, holding his phone and watching for threats in designer gowns. 3 years ago, at my second gala, a woman in red Valentino had asked Jacopo if I was his girlfriend. He'd looked at her with the same expression he uses before destroying someone's business empire and said, "Jasmine is much more valuable than that. She's irreplaceable." The woman had laughed nervously and moved away. I'd stood there, feeling simultaneously elevated and diminished, wondering what it meant to be irreplaceable to a man who treated people like chess pieces. "The car will be ready at 8, I say, pulling myself back to the present. "I've coordinated with your security detail. Enzo will drive, Marco and Alessandro will. You'll attend with me tonight." I freeze. In 4 years, Jacopo has never asked me to attend as anything other than his assistant. I'm the woman in the background, the one who ensures his phone is charged. His schedule is clear. His exits are secure. I'm not the woman on his arm. I don't think It wasn't a request. His voice is calm, but I hear the steel beneath it. There will be people there tonight who need to see that my organization is evolving, that I value certain kinds of loyalty. Certain kinds of loyalty. The phrase settles over me like a heavy coat. In Jacopo's world, loyalty isn't given. It's tested, proven, earned through years of silence and service. I've passed those tests without even knowing I was taking them. I'll need time to prepare, I say finally. Take the afternoon. Buy something appropriate. Put it on my account. He's already turning back to his computer, dismissing me. But then he adds, almost as an afterthought, "Wear your hair down, Jasmine. You always wear it up." The comment catches me off guard. I reach up unconsciously to touch the tight bun I've worn every day for 4 years, professional and severe, How many times has he noticed? How many details about me has he filed away in that calculating mind? Yes, Mr. Moretti. I turn to leave, but his voice stops me at the door. Jasmine. He's looking at me now, really looking, and something in his expression makes my breath catch. Tonight will be different. Stay close. It sounds like protection. It sounds like a warning. With Jacopo Moretti, it's always both. The rest of the afternoon passes in a blur of preparation. I find myself in a boutique I'd normally never enter, where a single dress costs more than I make in a month. The saleswoman, sensing Jacopo's account credentials, treats me like I'm someone who matters. I choose a midnight blue gown, elegant but understated, with a neckline that's professional but feminine. When I look in the mirror, I barely recognize myself. 4 years ago, on my first day, I'd worn a gray pantsuit and practical shoes. Jacopo had looked at me once and said, "You'll do." I'd spent the next week wondering what exactly I would do, what I'd gotten myself into. The job posting had been vague. Personal assistant to high-profile businessman, discretion essential. I'd needed the money. My younger sister, Julia, had just started university, and our parents were gone. I'd told myself it was temporary, just until I figured out something better. 4 years later, I'm still here, and I've stopped looking for something better. Because nothing else would be this. By the time evening arrives, I'm transformed. My dark hair falls in waves past my shoulders. The dress fits perfectly, and I've applied makeup with a precision I usually reserve for organizing Jacopo's calendar. When I arrive at the office at 7:30, Enzo does a double take. "Madonna," he mutters in Italian. "The boss is going to what?" Jacopo's voice cuts through the lobby. He emerges from the elevator, and for the first time in 4 years, I see him falter. It's barely a pause, a single moment where his eyes meet mine and something shifts in his expression. Then it's gone, replaced by his usual control. "You're ready," he says, offering his arm. Not a question, a statement. I take his arm, feeling the expensive fabric of his tuxedo beneath my fingers, the solid warmth of him beside me. We've stood close before, in crowded elevators, in the back of the car during tense negotiations, in his office late at night when we're the last ones working. But this is different. This is intentional. The ride to the gala is silent except for the soft hum of the engine. Jacopo's phone buzzes repeatedly, but he ignores it, staring out the window at Milan's glittering streets. I want to ask what he's thinking, what different means, why tonight matters. But I've learned when to speak and when to stay silent. The Palazzo Reale is magnificent, all Baroque architecture and Renaissance frescoes, transformed for the night into a playground for Milan's most powerful. We walk up the marble steps together, cameras flashing, and I feel the weight of curious stares. Jacopo Moretti rarely brings anyone to these events. Speculation will be running wild by morning. Inside, champagne flows like water. Crystal chandeliers cast everything in golden light. I recognize faces from newspapers and police reports, politicians, businessmen, lawyers. The respectable facade of Milan's underworld, all gathered in one room. "Champagne?" A server appears beside me. "She doesn't drink on duty," Jacopo says before I can respond. The server nods and disappears. "I'm not on duty tonight," I point out quietly. "You're always on duty, Jasmine. That's why you're irreplaceable." There's that word again. Irreplaceable. I'm beginning to hate it. The evening proceeds with excruciating politeness. Jacopo introduces me to people whose names I already know from our files. Men who smile at me while mentally calculating my worth to Jacopo's operation. I play my part perfectly, charming but reserved, intelligent but deferential. 4 years of watching Jacopo navigate these waters has taught me the dance. Then I see Lorenzo Valli, He's a lawyer who represents several of Milan's prominent families, including some who would like to see Jacopo's empire dismantled. Tall, handsome in a conventional way, with slicked-back hair and a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. I've organized 3 meetings with him over the years, all of them tense, all of them ending with veiled threats. He's watching me from across the room, and something in his expression makes my skin crawl. Jasmine. Jacopo's hand settles at the small of my back, possessive and protective. I need to speak with Santini. Will you be... I'll be fine, I assure him, though my eyes are still on Lorenzo. Go. Jacopo hesitates, following my gaze. His jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. 5 minutes, he says. Then he's gone, moving through the crowd with the confidence of a man who owns every room he enters. I make my way toward the terrace, needing air, needing space from the suffocating attention. The November night is cold against my bare shoulders, but I welcome it. Milan spreads out before me, beautiful and dangerous, just like the man I work for. The loyal dog finally gets to attend the party. Lorenzo's voice behind me makes me turn sharply. He's leaning against the doorframe, champagne in hand, his smile sharp as broken glass. Mr. Valli. I keep my voice neutral, professional. Enjoying the evening? More now. He moves closer, and I resist the urge to step back. 4 years you've been following Moretti around. Do you ever wonder what it would be like to work for someone who actually sees you as more than a secretary? I'm his personal assistant. You're his pet. He's close enough now that I can smell expensive cologne and alcohol. Everyone knows it. You organize his meetings, book his hotels, probably warm his bed when... That's inappropriate. Is it? His hand shoots out, gripping my arm hard enough to hurt. Or is it just honest? Tell me, Jasmine, does he at least pay you well for your... discretion? I try to pull away, but his grip tightens. Let go. I don't think so. See? I've been watching you tonight, watching how Moretti parades you around like a trophy. But we both know what you really are. You're a file cabinet in a pretty dress, a walking NDA. The boss's little... cacciarina. The word is Italian for little dog, spoken loud enough that several people on the terrace turn to look. Lorenzo's smile is vicious. Moretti's loyal cacciarina. Heat floods my face. Humiliation burns through me like acid. I can see people staring, whispering, some amused, others pitying. And through the glass doors, I can see Jacopo. He's watching the entire scene, his face perfectly blank, his storm cloud eyes revealing nothing. He doesn't move, doesn't intervene, doesn't defend me. The message is clear. I'm on my own. I wrench my arm free from Lorenzo's grip, ignoring the pain where his fingers dug in. Excuse me, I manage, my voice surprisingly steady despite the shaking in my hands. I don't run. That would give them all more to talk about. I walk with measured steps through the ballroom, feeling every eye on me, hearing the whispers following in my wake. I collect my clutch from our table, and I leave. The night air hits me like a slap. I'm halfway down the palazzo steps when Enzo appears, concern written across his scarred face. Miss Ferraro, the boss. Tell Mr. Moretti I'll have my formal resignation on his desk Monday morning. My voice sounds foreign to my ears. The car is his. I'll take a taxi. Jasmine? But I'm already walking, my heels clicking against marble, my vision blurring with tears I refuse to shed in front of anyone who might report back to Jacopo Moretti. 4 years. 4 years of loyalty, of silence, of being irreplaceable. And when it mattered, when I needed him to do something, anything, to show that I was more than just another asset to be managed, he'd stood there and watched me be humiliated. I don't look back. The apartment is cold when I arrive at 2 a.m, my feet screaming from walking 6 blocks in heels before I finally flag down a taxi. I kick off my shoes and sink onto the couch, my dress pooling around me like spilled ink. My phone has been buzzing for the past 3 hours. Enzo, Marco, even Jacopo's mother somehow. Everyone except the one person whose call I'm both dreading and desperately wanting. But Jacopo Moretti doesn't call. Of course he doesn't. He's probably still at the gala, shaking hands and making deals, utterly unbothered by my dramatic exit. I pull out my laptop and begin typing. The resignation letter comes easily, professionally worded despite the emotion churning inside me. After 4 years of dedicated service, I hereby resign from my position effective immediately. Per the terms of my employment contract, I understand I am bound by a 21-day confidentiality observation period, during which I will make myself available for the confidentiality clause. I'd forgotten about that particular gem buried in the 47-page contract I'd signed 4 years ago. 21 days, where I technically still belong to Jacopo, where I can't take another job, can't leave the city, have to remain available for debriefing and knowledge transfer. 21 days of purgatory. I finish the letter anyway, save it, and shut the laptop. Sleep seems impossible, but exhaustion wins out eventually, pulling me under into dreams of gray eyes and silent judgment. 2 years ago, Jacopo had been shot. A meeting gone wrong, a rival family sending a message. I'd been in the car when it happened, sitting in the back with him while Enzo drove us to what was supposed to be a peaceful negotiation. The bullet had shattered the window and grazed Jacopo's shoulder, close enough to be a warning, far enough to miss anything vital. I'd acted on instinct, shouting for Enzo to drive, pressing my scarf against Jacopo's wound while calling Marco for extraction. Jacopo had looked at me through the chaos, his face pale but composed, and said quietly, "Breathe, Jasmine. I'm fine." But I couldn't breathe. Not until we were safe at his private doctor's clinic. Not until I'd watched the wound cleaned and stitched. Not until Jacopo was sitting up and making phone calls like nothing had happened. He'd found me in the clinic's hallway afterward, shaking with delayed reaction. "You did well," he'd said, and then something I'd never heard before. "Thank you." I'd gone home that night and cried for an hour, terrified by how much his safety mattered to me, by how completely I'd fallen into his orbit. I wake to pounding on my door. Sunlight streams through my windows. It's past noon. I stumble to the door in my clothes from last night, makeup smeared, hair a disaster. Package for Jasmine Ferraro. The delivery man holds a large box stamped with Jacopo's corporate logo. I sign for it automatically and carry it inside. Inside the box is my resignation letter, printed and officially stamped, along with a thick folder labeled Transition Protocol and a handwritten note on expensive cardstock. "Your resignation has been processed. The 21-day observation period begins tomorrow. You will report to the Via Monte Napoleone office daily at 9 a.m. for debriefing. Failure to comply will result in breach of contract penalties. JM, no. Thank you for your service. No acknowledgement of 4 years of loyalty. Just cold corporate efficiency. Exactly what I should have expected from Jacopo Moretti. I'm about to throw the whole box in the trash when I notice something else. A smaller envelope, unmarked. Inside is a check. Not my final paycheck. That's already direct deposited according to the transition paperwork. This is for an amount that makes me gasp. 6 months' salary, plus a bonus that equals what I made my entire first year. No note, no explanation, just money, as if that's supposed to fix the humiliation, the abandonment, the realization that I never mattered beyond my function. I tear up the check, then I tape it back together because I'm angry but I'm not stupid, and Julia's university fees are due next month. But I hate myself a little for it. Monday morning arrives with Milan's typical November gloom. I dress in my most severe suit, pull my hair back into its familiar bun, and armor myself in professionalism. The Via Monte Napoleone office is Jacopo's legitimate headquarters, all glass and steel and marble, separate from the warehouse district where the real business happens. Marco is waiting in the lobby. His scarred face softens when he sees me. Jasmine, the boss is in a mood. Just be careful. When isn't he in a mood? But my heart is racing as I take the private elevator to the top floor. Jacopo's assistant, his new assistant, I remind myself bitterly, is a young man named Tommaso, who looks at me with curiosity and pity. Miss Ferraro, Mr. Moretti is expecting you in conference room A. Not his office, a conference room, formal and impersonal. The message is clear. I find him standing by the window, hands in his pockets, looking out over Milan. He doesn't turn when I enter. Your resignation cited personal reasons, he says without preamble. Care to elaborate? I don't believe I'm required to. You're not. He turns then, and I'm struck by how tired he looks. There are shadows under his eyes I've never seen before. But I'm asking, why? So you can document it? Make sure I'm not leaving for a competitor? The bitterness in my voice surprises even me. Don't worry, Mr. Moretti. I have no intention of taking my knowledge of your operation elsewhere. I'm bound by enough NDAs to ensure my silence until I'm dead. His jaw tightens. That's not why I'm asking. Then why? Silence. Long enough that I think he won't answer. Then, Lorenzo Valli was found in his office yesterday morning. His client list had been leaked to every journalist in Milan. His bank accounts, frozen. Several of his more questionable cases, suddenly under investigation. By noon, he'd lost everything. I stare at him. You did that. I did that. When? The gala was Saturday night. I left at 9. I made 3 phone calls before midnight. His voice is matter of fact. By 1 a.m., the wheels were in motion. By morning, Lorenzo Valli's career was destroyed. My legs feel weak. I sink into one of the conference chairs. Why didn't you say something? At the gala, when he grabbed me, when he called me. I can't even repeat the word. You just stood there. I stood there, Jacopo agrees, moving to sit across from me. Because Lorenzo Valli is a lawyer. In front of a room full of witnesses, any physical intervention from me would have consequences. Legal ramifications. Ammunition for my enemies. So I stood there. And I watched, and I calculated exactly how I would destroy him. But I didn't know that, I say, my voice breaking despite my best efforts. I thought you didn't care. I thought I was just disposable. Something flashes in his eyes, anger maybe, or hurt. In 4 years, have I ever treated you as disposable? 18 months ago, my sister had been in a car accident. I'd gotten the call during a high-stakes meeting with the Calabrian families. I'd tried to stay composed, to wait until the meeting was over, but Jacopo had seen my face. He'd called a recess, sent me to the hospital in his personal car with Enzo, and handled the Calabrians himself. When I'd tried to thank him later, he'd simply said, "Family matters." 6 months ago, when my apartment building had caught fire and I'd lost almost everything, I'd shown up to work the next day in borrowed clothes, ready to push through. Jacopo had taken one look at me and handed me keys to a furnished apartment he owned. "Temporary," he'd said, "until you're settled." I'm still living there. He's never asked for rent. "No," I admit quietly. "You haven't. Then why would Saturday night be different?" I look down at my hands, at the pale line on my wrist where Lorenzo's fingers had gripped too hard. Because it felt different. Because for once I wasn't your assistant. I was just a woman at a party. And you brought me there. You asked me to wear my hair down, I stop, unable to articulate the shift I'd felt that night. It felt personal. So when Lorenzo humiliated me, and you did nothing, it felt personal too. Jacopo is quiet for a long moment. Then he does something unexpected. He reaches across the table and gently takes my wrist, turning it to examine the faint bruising. His touch is careful, clinical, but I feel it everywhere. "This," he says quietly, "is why I destroyed him. Not for embarrassing my assistant, for putting his hands on you, for making you feel small, for daring to touch what's mine. The possessiveness in his voice makes my breath catch. I'm not yours. Aren't you? His gray eyes meet mine, and there's something raw in them. 4 years, Jasmine. You know everything about my operation. You know my mother's birthday, and my preferred escape routes, and exactly how I take my coffee at 3 a.m. when we're working late. You've saved my life, protected my interests, kept my secrets. If you're not mine, then what are you? I was your employee. You were never just my employee. He releases my wrist but doesn't look away. And that's the problem. My heart is pounding so hard I'm sure he can hear it. What problem? The problem that for 4 years I've been very careful to maintain appropriate boundaries, to treat you professionally, to never cross lines that once crossed couldn't be uncrossed. His voice drops lower. And then Saturday night, I decided to stop being careful. I brought you to that gala as more than my assistant. I wanted every man in that room to see you with me and know you were off limits. I wanted... He stops himself. What did you want? My voice is barely a whisper. He stands abruptly, walking back to the window. It doesn't matter. You've resigned. The 21 days will pass. You'll move on to something safer. Someone who won't put you in situations where lawyers grab you at galas. Someone who can actually defend you publicly instead of having to destroy them in the shadows. I should agree. I should take this out he's offering and run. But instead, I hear myself asking, what if I don't want someone safer? He turns sharply. Jasmine. My phone rings, cutting through the tension. Unknown number. I almost ignore it, but something makes me answer. Jasmine Ferraro? The voice is smooth, cultured, unfamiliar. Yes. This is Salvatore Ferrante. I believe we should meet. The name sends ice through my veins. Salvatore Ferrante is Jacopo's primary rival, the head of a competing family that's been trying to expand into Moretti territory for years. I've never spoken to him directly, but I've organized enough counter-strategies against him to know he's dangerous. I have nothing to say to you. On the contrary, you have 4 years of valuable information about Jacopo Moretti's operations, information that would be worth quite a lot to the right buyer. Meet me tomorrow, 2 p.m., Caffè Centrale. Come alone, or I'll have to send my men to retrieve you in a less pleasant manner. The call disconnects. I'm frozen, the phone still pressed to my ear. Jacopo was at my side instantly. Who was it? Ferrante. My voice sounds distant to my own ears. He wants to meet. He thinks I'll sell him information. Jacopo's expression goes completely cold, the mask of the mob boss slamming into place. He pulls out his phone, already dialing. Marco, Ferrante has made contact with Jasmine. I want full security detail on her, starting now. Yes, immediately. Jacopo, I'm not going to... Of course you're not going to meet him. He's pacing now, his mind clearly racing through scenarios and countermeasures. But he won't stop with a phone call. If he's brazen enough to contact you directly, he already has people watching you. Your apartment, your routines. He'll escalate. As if to prove his point, my phone buzzes with a text message. An unknown number, a photo of Julia leaving her university, laughing with friends, completely unaware of the danger. Nice sister you have. Would be a shame if something happened to her. 2 p.m. tomorrow. Don't be late. I show Jacopo the message. The temperature in the room seems to drop 20 degrees. Call Julia, he orders. Tell her to pack a bag. Marco is sending a car to campus right now. She's going somewhere safe until this is handled. Jacopo. No arguments, Jasmine. Not about this. He's already making more calls, issuing orders in rapid Italian. Enzo, I need the Lake Como property secured. Full detail, no visitors, complete lockdown. Yes, today, 20 minutes. I'm dialing Julia with shaking hands. Leah, hi. Listen, don't panic, but I need you to do exactly what I say. The next hour is a controlled storm of activity. Julia, confused but trusting, is picked up by Marco himself and taken to a secure property. My apartment is swept for bugs and surveillance. They find 2 cameras, one in my living room, one in my bedroom. The violation makes me physically sick. He's been watching me for how long? Doesn't matter. Jacopo's voice is hard as granite. Pack a bag. You're not staying here tonight. Where am I going? Somewhere Ferrante's people won't find you. Somewhere even most of my own organization doesn't know about. I should argue. I should insist I can take care of myself. But the photo of Julia has stripped away my pride. Okay. Within 2 hours, I'm in the back of Jacopo's personal car, Enzo driving, heading north out of Milan. Jacopo sits beside me, close enough that I can feel the heat radiating from him, but not touching. He's been on his phone constantly, speaking in low tones, coordinating a response to Ferrante's move. Finally, he pockets the phone and turns to me. I need to know everything you know about Ferrante's operations. Any meetings I took with intermediaries, any mentions in overheard conversations, anything at all. I close my eyes, pulling up 4 years of memories. 3 months ago, you had a meeting with a man named Ricci. He was supposedly representing textile interests, but I overheard him mention shipping routes through Genoa. You ended the meeting early and told me to flag Ricci's company for investigation. That was a Ferrante front. Jacopo's eyes narrow. What else? Last year, during the Calvino negotiation, someone leaked our position to their family. The leak had to come from inside your organization because the information was never written down, only discussed in your office. You think there's an informant? I think someone's been feeding Ferrante information for at least a year, maybe longer. How else would he know I was valuable enough to target? How else would he know to watch me? Jacopo is quiet for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice is deadly calm. You've been thinking about this. I'm always thinking. I look at him. That's what you pay me for. Paid. What? Past tense. You resigned, remember? And yet here I am, in your car, on my way to your secret safe house, while your security detail protects my sister. Seems like I'm still very much employed. A ghost of a smile crosses his face. Fair point. We drive for another hour, leaving the city behind, climbing into hills dotted with villas and vineyards. Finally, we turn down a private road, through gates that open automatically, and pull up to a house that's more fortress than home. Modern, isolated, with security cameras covering every angle. Welcome to one of my private sanctuaries, Jacopo says as Enzo opens the door. No one from the organization has access to this location except me, Enzo, and now you. My own mother doesn't know about this place. Inside, it's surprisingly warm despite the modern architecture. There's art on the walls, comfortable furniture, a kitchen that's been recently stocked. It doesn't look like a safe house. It looks like a home. There are 3 bedrooms upstairs, Jacopo says, setting down his bag. Take whichever you want. Enzo will be in the guest house. I'll take the master. You're staying here? I don't know why this surprises me. Where else would I be? You're under my protection, Jasmine. That means I protect you personally, not from a distance. The reality of our situation sinks in. We're alone together in a remote house, removed from the careful boundaries of the office, from the professional distance we've maintained for 4 years. And Ferrante's threat hangs over everything, changing the rules of engagement. Jacopo, I say carefully. Before, in the conference room. What were you going to say? What did you want? He's silent for so long I think he won't answer. Then, I wanted them to know you were mine, not my assistant, Not my employee. Mine. And that's dangerous, Jasmine. For both of us. Because the moment people understand how much you matter to me, you become the perfect leverage. And now Ferrante knows. Now Ferrante thinks he knows. He thinks you're valuable because of the information you possess. He doesn't understand that you're valuable because... He stops himself again. Because what? He turns to face me fully, and the expression in his eyes makes my breath catch. Because somewhere in the past 4 years, protecting you stopped being about protecting an asset, and became about protecting the one person in this godforsaken world that I actually give a damn about. The confession hangs between us, raw and dangerous. I resigned, I whisper, to get away from this, from you, from feeling like I'm yours without actually being yours. I know. He takes a step closer. And I let you go because it was the right thing to do. Because you deserved better than being claimed by a man like me. But then Ferrante threatened you, threatened Julia, and I realized something. What? That letting you go doesn't mean I'll stop protecting you. It doesn't mean I'll stop destroying anyone who hurts you. It doesn't mean you stop being mine. Another step closer. It just means I torture myself with the knowledge that you're out there, vulnerable, and I can't be the one keeping you safe every second of every day. I should step back, should maintain the distance, should remember all the reasons this is a terrible idea. Instead, I close the space between us, looking up into those storm cloud eyes. Then don't let me go. For a moment, he just stares at me. Then his hand comes up to cup my face with devastating gentleness. If I don't let you go, I'll never be able to. Once I claim you, Jasmine, there's no going back. You'll be mine in every way that matters, and I don't share. I don't compromise. I don't do half measures. I know who you are, Jacopo. I've known for 4 years, and I'm still here. You're here because Ferrante forced your hand. I'm here because when that photo of Julia came through, the first thing I thought was, Jacopo will protect her. Not the police, not some bodyguard service, you. Because I trust you with the people I love, even when I'm terrified of how much I want you. Something breaks in his careful control. His other hand tangles in my hair, pulling me closer. You want me? I've wanted you for 2 years, maybe longer. I just convinced myself it was admiration, or loyalty, or Stockholm Syndrome, or anything but what it actually was. And what is it actually? I meet his eyes steadily. Love. Terrifying, inconvenient, probably going to get me killed love. He makes a sound low in his throat, half groan, half laugh. You couldn't have led with that? Before the resignation? Before this mess with Ferrante? Would it have changed anything? It would have changed everything. His thumb traces my lower lip. But we're here now. So tell me, Jasmine Ferraro, what do you want? Really want? I reach up, my hand covering his where it cups my face. I want to stop being the woman who stands 2 steps behind you. I want to be the woman at your side. I want you to claim me publicly, possessively, permanently. And I want to destroy Salvatore Ferrante for threatening my sister. His smile is slow and dangerous and absolutely devastating. That can be arranged. Then he's kissing me, and 4 years of tension explodes into something fierce and claiming and absolutely inevitable. This is nothing like I imagined. It's better. Hungry and possessive and tinged with the knowledge that we've wasted so much time pretending we could be professional, when all along, we've been circling each other like planets caught in gravitational pull. When we finally break apart, both breathing hard, he rests his forehead against mine. Tomorrow, we deal with Ferrante. Tonight, you're mine. I've always been yours, I whisper back. I just needed you to stop being so damn professional about it. He laughs, actually laughs, and the sound is beautiful. Professional. Is that what you thought I was being? Weren't you? Jasmine, every day for 4 years, I've wanted to do this. His hands frame my face. Every time you leaned over my desk to show me something on your tablet. Every late night we worked alone. Every moment you wore your hair down and I imagined wrapping it around my fist. I've been exercising so much professional restraint I deserve a medal. The confession makes heat flood through me. You hid it well. I had to. You were my employee. I was your boss. There are lines that shouldn't be crossed, rules that exist for good reasons. His voice drops. But you resigned, and Ferrante threatened you. And all those careful reasons for staying away from you don't seem to matter anymore, compared to the fact that I can't lose you. You won't lose me. I pull him closer. I'm not going anywhere. Promise? Promise. Now stop talking and claim what's yours. His kiss is answer enough. I wake to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the scent of coffee. For a moment, I'm disoriented. This isn't my apartment, isn't the guest room at Jacopo's estate. Then memory floods back. The safe house. Ferrante's threat. Jacopo's confession. Everything that happened after. Heat rises to my cheeks as I remember exactly what happened after. The professional distance we'd maintained for 4 years had shattered completely, replaced by something raw and honest and consuming. I'd fallen asleep in Jacopo's arms, his heartbeat steady beneath my ear, his hands stroking my hair with unexpected tenderness. But the bed beside me is empty now, the sheets cool. I pull on one of his shirts, expensive cotton that smells like him, and pad downstairs barefoot. Jacopo is in the kitchen, already dressed in dark slacks and a crisp white shirt, phone pressed to his ear as he speaks rapid Italian. He looks up when I enter, and something in his expression softens. He wraps up the call quickly. Buongiorno, he says, pouring me coffee without asking how I take it. After 4 years, he knows. Sleep well? Better than I have in months. I accept the cup, noticing he's made it exactly right. What time is it? Nearly 9. I let you sleep. He leans against the counter, studying me with those gray eyes. We need to talk about Ferrante. And just like that, reality crashes back. The meeting is at 2, which you're obviously not attending. His voice is firm. But we can use it. I've been making calls since 6 this morning. Ferrante made a mistake by targeting you directly. How so? Because he showed his hand too early. If he'd been smart, he would have approached you subtly, built a relationship, convinced you I was the enemy. Instead, he threatened your sister within 24 hours of your resignation. That tells me he's desperate. I take a sip of coffee, my mind already working through the implications. 4 years of being Jacopo's assistant has taught me to think strategically. He's losing ground somewhere. He needs information about your operations quickly, which means he's planning something time-sensitive. Exactly. Jacopo's smile is approving. The question is what? I've had my people digging all night. Ferrante has been making moves in Genoa, trying to secure shipping routes. If he succeeds, he cuts into my import business significantly. 3 years ago, I'd sat in on a strategy meeting where Jacopo had systematically dismantled a rival's attempt to enter the luxury car market. I'd watched him identify the weak points in their operation, the suppliers he could turn, the officials he could pressure. It had been like watching a chess master work, each move calculated 3 steps ahead. Afterward, I'd asked him how he'd known where to apply pressure. He'd looked at me with those storm cloud eyes and said, "Everyone has something they value more than loyalty. Find that thing, and you find their breaking point." I'd filed that lesson away, never imagining I'd become the thing Jacopo valued most. So we give Ferrante what he wants. I say slowly, the plan forming as I speak. False information. I show up to the meeting, feed him details about a non-existent shipment, and when he moves on it, we're waiting. Jacopo finishes my thought. It's risky, Jasmine. Ferrante isn't stupid. He'll have you watched, possibly searched, and if he suspects you're working with me, he won't, because I'll give him just enough truth to make the lies believable. I set down my coffee cup, my mind racing. The Calvino negotiation last year, the one where information leaked. I can tell Ferrante I was the source, that I've been feeding his informant details for months but got scared when you started investigating. It explains why I resigned, why I'm willing to meet him. Jacopo is quiet for a long moment, his expression unreadable. You've thought about this before, about how you'd betray me if you wanted to. The accusation stings, but I meet his eyes steadily. I've thought about how someone could betray you. It's my job to identify vulnerabilities. Remember? I spent 4 years making sure no one could exploit the weaknesses I saw. And now you're using that knowledge to set a trap. Now I'm using it to protect us. I move closer to him. Ferrante threatened Julia. He put cameras in my bedroom. He thinks I'm weak, exploitable. Let's prove him wrong. Something fierce and proud flashes in Jacopo's eyes. You're not weak. You never were. His hand comes up to cup my face. But this plan requires you to walk into danger without me there to protect you. You'll be protecting me, just not visibly. I lean into his touch. Besides, I've been in danger for 4 years. Every meeting you sent me to, every file you had me organize, every conversation you trusted me to keep secret, all of it was dangerous. The only difference is now I'm choosing it consciously. That's not comforting. It's not meant to be. It's meant to be honest. I cover his hand with mine. Last night, you said I was yours. Did you mean it? Every word. Then trust me to do this. Trust that 4 years of watching you work taught me something about strategy and manipulation and playing the long game. He pulls me closer, his forehead resting against mine. You're terrifying, you know that? Brilliant and brave and absolutely terrifying. I learned from the best. His laugh is low and warm. We need to prep you. If you're going to sell this lie to Ferrante, every detail has to be perfect. He'll be looking for inconsistencies, signs that you're working with me. We spend the next 3 hours going over my story, building layers of believable deception. Jacopo questions me relentlessly, poking holes in my narrative, forcing me to think through every possible angle. It's exhausting and exhilarating, like the best kind of mental sparring. Why did you really resign? He asks for the 5th time, playing Ferrante's role. Because Lorenzo Valli humiliated me at the gala, and Jacopo did nothing. He just stood there and watched me be degraded in front of Milan's elite. I realized I was nothing to him, just an employee, easily replaced. But you stayed loyal for 4 years. Why break now? Because for 4 years, I told myself there was something more beneath the professionalism. That the way he looked at me sometimes meant something. The gala proved I was delusional. And then when his lawyers sent over the confidentiality paperwork, I saw an opportunity. 21 days where I'm still bound to him legally but free enough to make my own choices. Jacopo's jaw tightens, even though he knows it's acting. Hearing me articulate a version of events where he failed me clearly bothers him, even in fiction. And the information you're offering? He prompts. Shipping schedules for the Genoa routes, details about his security protocols, names of officials on his payroll, and... I hesitate. This part is the riskiest. Information about his personal vulnerabilities. Such as... I look at Jacopo, and even though we're still in character, my voice softens. Such as the fact that despite his reputation for being untouchable, He has people he cares about. His mother, his inner circle, and apparently his assistant, though he hid that well until it was too late. Jacopo breaks character, pulling me into his arms. That part's not fiction. I know. I rest my head against his chest. That's what makes it believable. At 1 o'clock, we drive back toward Milan. I'm dressed in clothes that suggest someone who's been struggling financially. Last season's styles, good quality but worn. My hair is back in its severe bun. I look like exactly what I'm supposed to be. A woman who's been discarded and is looking for revenge. Jacopo drops me 3 blocks from Caffè Centrale. Before I get out of the car, he pulls me back for one more kiss. Enzo will be in the cafe. Marco is in the building across the street with a rifle. I'll be in the surveillance van 2 blocks away, listening to everything. You're not alone in this. I know. But my hands are shaking slightly as I reach for the door handle. Jasmine. He catches my hand. If anything feels wrong, if Ferrante deviates from what we expect, you say the word contract. We'll extract you immediately. Contract. Got it. I squeeze his hand once more, then force myself to let go. The walk to Caffè Centrale feels like miles even though it's only 3 blocks. I'm hyper-aware of everyone around me, every car that passes, every stranger's glance. By the time I push through the cafe doors, my heart is racing. Salvatore Ferrante sits at a corner table, distinguished and dangerous in equal measure. Salt and pepper hair, expensive suit, the kind of smile that doesn't reach cold eyes. He stands when he sees me, ever the gentleman. Miss Ferraro, thank you for coming. Please, sit. I slide into the chair across from him, my purse clutched in my lap. I can see Enzo at the bar, reading a newspaper, apparently oblivious. You threatened my sister. Insurance, Ferrante says smoothly. I needed to ensure you'd take this meeting seriously. Your sister is perfectly safe, I assure you, as long as you cooperate. The threat is barely veiled. I force myself to look frightened, which isn't difficult. What do you want? What I want, Miss Ferraro, is very simple. 4 years of information about Jacopo Moretti's operations. In exchange, I'll pay you handsomely and ensure neither you nor your sister ever have to worry about money again. How much? He names a figure that would be tempting if I didn't already know it's a lie. Ferrante has no intention of paying me. Once he has what he wants, I'll be a liability to be eliminated. That's generous, I say carefully. But how do I know you'll actually pay? How do I know you won't just kill you once I have the information? He smiles. Because I'm a businessman, Miss Ferraro. Dead informants can't provide ongoing intelligence. I'm not looking for a one-time transaction. I'm looking for a long-term partnership. Another lie, but I pretend to consider it. I want half up front. Of course, once you've provided proof of the value of your information. He leans forward. Tell me, Miss Ferraro, why did you really leave Moretti? This is it, the moment where I sell the lie or fail. Because I was stupid enough to fall in love with him. The words come out bitter, raw, exactly right. 4 years of watching him from 2 steps back, telling myself it was just professional admiration. Then he brings me to the Santini Gala, asks me to wear my hair down, treats me like I matter. And when Lorenzo Valli grabbed me, when he called me Moretti's little dog in front of everyone, Jacopo just stood there. He didn't defend me, didn't even acknowledge it happened. I realized I was nothing to him, just another asset to be managed. Ferrante's eyes gleam. That must have been humiliating. It was clarifying. I meet his gaze. I gave him 4 years of loyalty. I kept his secrets, organized his life, protected his interests, and he couldn't even be bothered to defend my dignity in public. So you're here for revenge. I'm here because my sister has student loans, and I need to survive the next 21 days without crawling back to Moretti. If hurting him in the process is a side benefit, I'll take it. Ferrante sits back, studying me. I can feel him weighing my words, looking for deception. This is the moment where the plan succeeds or fails. What can you tell me about his Genoa operations? He asks finally. I take a breath and begin reciting the false information Jacopo and I prepared. Shipping schedules that are off by 2 days, security protocols that don't account for his actual countermeasures, details that sound specific enough to be valuable, but will lead Ferrante directly into a trap. Ferrante listens intently, occasionally asking clarifying questions. I answer them all, layering truth and lies so smoothly that even I almost believe my own story. 18 months ago, Jacopo had asked me to lie to a federal investigator. They'd come to the office with a warrant, looking for records that didn't exist. Jacopo had coached me for hours on exactly what to say, how to phrase things to be technically truthful while completely misleading. The best lies are built on a foundation of truth, he'd told me. Give them facts they can verify, then embed the deception so deeply they can't see where reality ends and fiction begins. I'd walked into that interrogation room terrified, and emerged 2 hours later having convinced a federal agent that Jacopo's import business was exactly what it appeared to be. Afterward, Jacopo had looked at me with something like awe. "You're a natural," he'd said. "That's terrifying, and incredibly valuable." I'd gone home that night and thrown up, sickened by how easily the lies had flowed, how convincingly I'd played the role. But I'd also felt a dark thrill at having protected him, at being good at something that mattered in his world. "This is excellent information," Ferrante says when I finish, "but I'll need verification before I can arrange payment." Of course. I've been expecting this. The shipment I mentioned arrives in Genoa in 3 days. Verify that, and we can discuss the next phase of our partnership. Ferrante smiles. "I think we'll work very well together, Miss Ferraro. You're much smarter than Moretti gave you credit for." The meeting ends with promises and veiled threats in equal measure. I walk out of Café Central on legs that feel like water, making it half a block before Enzo appears at my elbow. "Cars around the corner," he murmurs. "You did good." Jacopo is waiting in the back seat. The moment I'm inside, he pulls me against him, his arms tight around me. "You were perfect. Absolutely perfect." He believed it? My voice is shaking now that the adrenaline is fading. "Every word. We listened to the whole thing. You sold the heartbroken assistant so convincingly I almost believed it myself." He pulls back to look at me. "How do you feel?" "Like I need a shower. Like I need to scrub off the feeling of lying to a man who could kill me." I lean into Jacopo's warmth, but also proud. Is that wrong? To be proud of deceiving someone so completely? In my world, it's a survival skill. His hand strokes my hair. "And you just demonstrated you're better at it than people twice your age with decades of experience." Over the next 3 days, we watch Ferrante take the bait. His people verify the shipping information I provided, the parts that are true. They start positioning resources in Genoa, preparing to intercept a shipment that doesn't exist. And all the while, Jacopo's people are watching, documenting everything. "He's committed," Marco reports on the 3rd night. 20 men in Genoa, plus the money he's paid to local officials for cooperation. When the shipment doesn't arrive, he's going to be exposed and vulnerable. Good. Jacopo's smile is cold. "Make sure we have documentation of every bribe, every illegal move. I want Ferrante destroyed so completely he can never threaten what's mine again." But something is bothering me. I'm in Jacopo's study at the safe house, going through files, when it clicks. "The informant," I say suddenly. Jacopo looks up from his laptop. "What about them?" Ferrante knew exactly when to approach me. within hours of my resignation. He knew I was vulnerable, knew about the Lorenzo incident, knew enough about my psychology to use the exact right leverage. I start pacing, my mind racing. That's not just good intelligence. That's insider information from someone who understands the dynamics of your organization. Jacopo's expression darkens. You think the informant is still active? I think the informant has been feeding Ferrante information for longer than we realized, and I think I know how to find them. I explain my theory, that the informant has to be someone with access to Jacopo's personal schedule, someone who would have known about the gala, about my attendance, about the significance of Lorenzo's insult. The list of people with that level of access is small. Tommaso, Jacopo says slowly, his voice deadly quiet. My new assistant, or Marco, or Alessandro, or any of the inner circle who would have known those details. I turn to face him, but there's a way to test it. We feed different information to different people, see which version reaches Ferrante. A canary trap. Jacopo nods slowly. Risky, but effective. We spend the next day implementing the plan, carefully feeding slightly different details about our next move to each member of Jacopo's inner circle. Then we wait. The answer comes faster than expected. Within 12 hours, Ferrante makes a move based on information we fed exclusively to Tommaso. Jacopo's face goes completely blank when Marco confirms it. My own assistant, right under my nose for 6 months. He was placed there deliberately, I say quietly. After I resigned, Ferrante's people pushed Tommaso into position. They knew you'd need to replace me quickly. And I was arrogant enough to think I could spot a spy. Jacopo's voice is cold fury. While I was worried about you being vulnerable, they were already inside my organization. So we use it. I move to his side. Tommaso doesn't know we've identified him. We feed him exactly what we want Ferrante to know. We control the information flow. Jacopo looks at me with something like wonder. 4 years ago, you were a graduate with a business degree and no idea what you were getting into. Now you're planning counterintelligence operations. I had a good teacher. I lean against his desk. So what do we tell Tommaso? What's the final piece of bait? His smile is slow and dangerous. We tell him that you've become a liability, that I can't trust you anymore, that I think you might be working with Ferrante, and that I'm planning to eliminate the problem permanently. Horror floods through me. Jacopo, if Ferrante thinks you're going to kill me, he'll try to extract you first. Get you to safety so he can debrief you properly. Get every last piece of information before I can silence you. Jacopo's hands frame my face. And when he makes that move, we'll be ready. We'll catch him in the act of trying to extract an informant. We'll have documentation of Tommaso's betrayal, and we'll destroy both of them in one move. Using me as bait. Using us as bait, he corrects. Because I'll be right there, Jasmine. I won't let anything happen to you. I should be terrified. Should be arguing against a plan that puts me directly in danger. But instead, I feel that same dark thrill I'd felt lying to the federal investigator, the same sense of being good at something dangerous and important. Okay, I say, let's do it. That night, Jacopo has a carefully staged conversation with Tommaso in his office, with me deliberately absent. I listen via the secure feed Enzo set up. Miss Ferraro's resignation has created complications, Jacopo says, his voice cold. I've reviewed her activities over the past week. The meeting with Ferrante, the information she provided him. I can't ignore the possibility that she's been compromised. Sir, I'm sure there's an explanation. Tommaso's voice is perfectly concerned. The explanation is that I allowed personal feelings to cloud my judgment. That ends now. Make arrangements, quietly. I want the problem resolved before Ferrante can use her against me further. Silence. Then Tommaso's carefully neutral response. Of course, Mr. Moretti. When? tomorrow night. I'll handle it personally. The conversation ends. In the safe house, listening to Jacopo coldly discuss my elimination, I feel ice run through my veins even though I know it's theater. Enzo sees my expression and squeezes my shoulder. He'd burn the world down before letting anyone hurt you. You know that, right? I know. But hearing Jacopo's voice so devoid of emotion when talking about me is still chilling. It's just strange, hearing how convincingly he can lie. He's had a lot of practice. Enzo's voice is gentle. But with you, he's never had to. That's why this works. Because everyone who knows him knows he doesn't lie about the things that actually matter to him. Within 6 hours, we get confirmation that Ferrante has taken the bait. He contacts me directly, a brief message. Moretti knows. Extraction tonight, 11 p.m., north entrance of Parco Sempione. Come alone. This is your only chance. He's moving faster than I expected, Jacopo says, reading the message over my shoulder. He must be getting desperate. Or he knows the Genoa trap is about to close and wants to secure what assets he can before he's exposed. I'm already thinking through the logistics. Parco Sempione has multiple exits. He'll have people positioned to grab me and disappear before your security can respond. Except we'll already be there. Jacopo's smile is predatory. Marco, set it up. I want surveillance on every entrance, backup positioned in the park, and documentation of every move Ferrante's people make. When he tries to extract Jasmine, I want evidence so clear that even his own allies will turn on him. The final pieces fall into place with mechanical precision. Jacopo's people move into position around Parco Sempione hours before the extraction time. I'm wired with the smallest recording device available, practically invisible, and Jacopo will be in a van 100 yards away, watching everything. At 10:45 p.m., I walk into the park alone. The November night is cold, my breath fogging in the air. I can see other people, joggers, couples, the usual park traffic, but I know most of them are Jacopo's people, positioned to look casual while maintaining perfect tactical awareness. At exactly 11 p.m., a car pulls up to the north entrance. Not Ferrante himself, but 2 of his men, both armed based on the bulk under their jackets. Miss Ferraro, one of them says, please get in, quickly. I hesitate, playing frightened and uncertain. Where's Ferrante? He said he'd be here. Mr. Ferrante is waiting somewhere safe, but we need to move now. Moretti's people could be watching. They're right about that, though not in the way they think. I get in the car, sandwiched between the 2 men, and we pull away from the park. We drive for 15 minutes, taking a winding route clearly designed to lose any tail. I can feel the recording device against my skin, capturing everything. Finally, we pull into an abandoned warehouse in the industrial district. Salvatore Ferrante is waiting inside, along with Tommaso. The sight of Jacopo's assistant standing with Ferrante confirms everything. I let my expression show betrayal. You, I say to Tommaso. You were the informant the whole time. I was insurance, Tommaso replies calmly. Mr. Ferrante likes to have eyes inside his competitors' organizations. And now he has me. I turn to Ferrante. You said extraction. This looks more like abduction. Semantics. Ferrante's smile is cold. You've been very useful, Miss Ferraro. The information about Moretti's Genoa operations has been valuable, but I need more. Everything you know about his financial structures, his political connections, his personal vulnerabilities. I gave you what I had. You gave me what you thought was safe to share. Now, I need the rest. He nods to one of his men, who steps forward with a briefcase. We can do this the easy way, with payment and partnership, or we can do it the hard way. Your choice. This is the moment. I can feel the recording device capturing every word, documenting Ferrante's admission of corporate espionage, bribery, conspiracy, everything we need to destroy him. I want the money first, I say, buying time. Ferrante laughs. I don't think so. You'll tell me what I want to know, and then... The warehouse doors explode inward. Jacopo's people move with military precision, weapons drawn, exits blocked. In seconds, Ferrante's men are on the ground, disarmed. Tommaso tries to run and is tackled by Marco. And then Jacopo himself walks in, calm and controlled and absolutely terrifying in his fury. Salvatore, his voice echoes in the warehouse. I believe you have something that belongs to me. Ferrante's face goes white. He looks at me, understanding dawning. You set me up. She brilliantly set you up, Jacopo corrects, moving to my side. His hand settles possessively on my waist. And you fell for it completely. The false information about Genoa, which you acted on, exposing yourself to your own allies. The recording of you admitting to corporate espionage and attempted kidnapping. And best of all, he gestures to Tommaso, documentation of your informant in my organization. You can't prove any of this, Ferrante blusters. Actually, I can. I pull out the recording device, holding it up. Every word from tonight, plus documentation of your bribes in Genoa, your illegal surveillance of me, and your threats against my sister. The police will be very interested. Or... I look at Jacopo. We can handle this another way. Jacopo's smile is terrifying. You threatened what's mine, Ferrante. You put your hands on something precious to me. There are consequences for that. She's just your assistant, Ferrante spits. She's my everything. Jacopo's voice drops to deadly quiet. And you're going to learn exactly what that means. What follows is systematic and brutal. Not physically, but financially and politically. Jacopo doesn't kill Ferrante. Death would be too quick, too merciful. Instead, he destroys him piece by piece. By morning, Ferrante's assets are frozen by authorities armed with evidence of his illegal activities. His allies, seeing the documentation of his failures, distance themselves. His reputation in Milan's underworld is shattered beyond repair. And Tommaso simply disappears. When I ask Jacopo what happened to him, he simply says, he betrayed my trust. There are consequences for that. I don't ask for more details. 3 days after Ferrante's destruction, I'm back in Jacopo's office, not the conference room this time, but his actual office, sitting across from him while he reviews documents. It feels surreal to be here after everything that's happened, to fall back into the familiar rhythm of work when so much has changed between us. The shareholders' meeting needs to be rescheduled, I say, checking my tablet, except it's not my tablet anymore. I resigned. This is Jacopo's tablet, Jacopo's schedule, Jacopo's life that I'm no longer officially part of. Jasmine. He sets down the papers he's reviewing. We need to discuss your employment status. Here it comes. The awkward conversation about how I can't come back now that we're... whatever we are. I brace myself for the professional dismissal. I want you back, he says simply. Not as my assistant. My heart sinks. Of course. I've proven myself too valuable in other ways. Intelligence gathering, strategy, deception. He probably wants me in some shadowy role where I can use those skills without the pretense of legitimacy. As what then? I keep my voice neutral. As my consigliere. I stare at him. Consigliere. Counselor, advisor, the person who sits at the right hand of a boss and helps make decisions that affect the entire organization. It's a position of tremendous power and trust, traditionally held by men who've spent decades proving their loyalty. That's insane. Is it? Jacopo leans back in his chair. You've spent 4 years learning every aspect of my operations. You know my business better than anyone except me. You've proven you can think strategically, lie convincingly, and make hard decisions under pressure. The Ferrante situation demonstrated that you're more than capable of handling the darker aspects of this world. I'm 26 years old. Jacopo, your people will never accept. My people will accept what I tell them to accept. His voice goes hard. And after Ferrante, after you identified the informant and planned the entire counter-operation, they'd be fools not to recognize your value. 6 months ago, I'd attended a meeting where one of Jacopo's associates had questioned a decision. The man had been polite, but firm in his disagreement. Jacopo had listened patiently, then explained in excruciating detail why the associate was wrong. The associate had never questioned him again. Leadership isn't about forcing compliance, Jacopo had told me afterward. It's about making people understand that following you is in their best interest. Fear works short-term. Respect works forever. What about us? I asked quietly. How do I serve as your consigliere when I'm also... I hesitate, unsure how to define what we are. Mine? He supplies the word with a slight smile. We keep the personal and professional separate. In the office, you're my advisor, my equal in terms of strategic planning. Outside the office, you're the woman I love. The casual way he says love makes my heart stutter. You love me? Did you think the last few days were just about protecting an asset? He stands, moving around the desk to pull me to my feet. Jasmine, I've been in love with you for 2 years. I'm just finally allowed to say it. 2 years. While I was maintaining professional distance, convincing myself my feelings were one-sided, he'd been feeling the same thing, all that wasted time. I love you too, I whisper. But I'm terrified of what that means in your world. It means you'll be protected better than anyone else in Milan. It means anyone who threatens you answers to me personally. It means... He pulls me closer. That you'll never be 2 steps behind me again. You'll be beside me, always. The promise is everything I wanted that night at the gala, everything I'd dreamed about during 4 years of maintaining professional distance. But accepting it means fully entering Jacopo's world, not as an employee who could theoretically walk away, but as his partner in every sense. I need time to think about the consigliere position, I say finally. It's a huge step. Take all the time you need. He presses a kiss to my forehead. But know this, whether you accept the position or not, you're still mine. That doesn't change. I'm about to respond when my phone rings. Julia. I'd been so focused on Ferrante and the aftermath that I'd barely checked in with my sister beyond confirming she was safe. Leah. Hi. I'm so sorry I haven't called. Jasmine. Oh my God. What is happening? Her voice is panicked. There are men outside the safe house, and I saw on the news that Salvatore Ferrante was arrested. And someone said you were involved, and I don't understand any of this. Guilt crashes through me. In protecting Julia from physical danger, I'd left her terrified and confused. I'll come explain everything. I'm leaving now. The drive to Lake Como takes 90 minutes. Jacopo insists on coming with me, along with Marco for security. We make the trip in tense silence, both of us preparing for what will be a difficult conversation. Julia is waiting on the terrace of the safe house, pacing frantically. When she sees me, she runs over and hugs me so hard I can barely breathe. You're okay. Oh, thank God, you're okay. I'm fine, Leah, I promise. I pull back to look at her. But we need to talk. What follows is the hardest conversation of my life. I tell Julia everything, about Jacopo's real business, about my role as his assistant, about Ferrante's threat and the trap we set. I leave out the parts about my relationship with Jacopo, focusing on the facts she needs to understand why her life was in danger. She listens in stunned silence, her expression cycling through disbelief, horror, and finally, anger. You've been working for the Mafia for 4 years and you never told me? I was protecting you. The less you knew. The less I knew, the safer I was. I get it, Jasmine. But I'm not a child anymore. I deserve to know that my sister was in constant danger. She's right, and I have no defense. Jacopo, who's been standing silently nearby, steps forward. Your sister kept you safe, Julia. Everything she did, every secret she kept, every risk she took, was to ensure you could live a normal life. Don't punish her for that. Julia turns her anger on him. And you're the reason she was in danger in the first place. You brought this into her life. I did, Jacopo agrees calmly. And I'll spend the rest of my life ensuring she never regrets it. But your sister chose this path. Julia. She's brilliant and capable and strong enough to thrive in my world. Don't underestimate her. Something in his defense of me softens Julia's expression. She looks between us, and I see the moment she understands there's more to our relationship than employer and employee. Oh my God, you're together. You and the mob boss are actually together. Heat rises to my cheeks. It's complicated. It's really not, Jacopo says, his hand finding mine. I love your sister. She loves me. The rest is just logistics. Julia sinks into a chair, processing. Finally, she looks up at me. Are you happy? Really happy? Not just pretending to be okay with a dangerous situation? I think about the past few days. The terror and the triumph. The way Jacopo looked at me after we'd taken down Ferrante. The feeling of being his equal rather than his shadow. Yes, I say honestly. Happier than I've been in years. She nods slowly. Then I'll try to accept this. But Jasmine! Her voice cracks. Please don't die on me. You're all I have left. I pull her into another hug. I'm not going anywhere. I promise. We stay at the Lake Como house for the rest of the day, the three of us finding an uneasy peace. Julia asks questions about Jacopo's business, the legitimate parts, and he answers with surprising patience. I watch them interact and see the future taking shape. My sister and the man I love, learning to exist in each other's worlds. As the sun sets over the lake, Julia excuses herself to call friends. Jacopo and I stand on the terrace, his arm around my waist, both of us looking out at the water. She'll forgive you eventually, he says quietly. I hope so. I lean into his warmth. I've spent 4 years keeping her separate from this life. It's strange to have her know everything. Strange, but honest. He turns me to face him. Speaking of honest, there's something I need to ask you. My heart rate picks up. What? He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small velvet box. My breath stops completely. Before you panic, he says with a slight smile. This isn't what you think. Not yet, anyway. He opens the box to reveal not an engagement ring, but a key. Old-fashioned, brass, intricate. This is the key to my grandfather's house in Sicily. The place where he started everything, where the family truly began. I've never given it to anyone, but I want you to have it. I take the key with shaking hands. Jacopo, I don't understand. In my family, giving someone the key to the ancestral home means you're giving them access to your history, your legacy, your future. It's a promise that you belong, not just to me, but to everything I come from and everything I'm building. His hands frame my face. I'm not ready to ask you to marry me yet. That's a conversation we should have when you've had time to fully understand what accepting it means. But I am ready to promise you that when I do ask, it'll be because I can't imagine my future without you in it. Tears blur my vision. This is the most romantic thing anyone's ever done for me. Just wait, he murmurs, pulling me closer. I'm just getting started. He kisses me as the sun sets over Lake Como, and I feel the key press between us. A promise of futures still unwritten, of legacies yet to be built, of a partnership that will reshape everything. The decision comes 3 weeks later, in Jacopo's office, with every member of his inner circle watching me with varying degrees of skepticism. I'm standing at the head of the conference table, Jacopo's seat, deliberately given to me for this meeting. He sits to my right, a position of support rather than command. Marco, Alessandro, Enzo, and 6 other men, whose loyalty Jacopo has cultivated over decades, fill the remaining chairs. These are the people who run his empire, who enforce his will, who've built their lives around serving the Moretti family. And I'm about to ask them to accept me as their equal. Gentlemen, I begin, my voice steady despite the nerves coiling in my stomach. You all know why we're here. Mr. Moretti has offered me the position of consigliere. Before I accept, I need to know if you can work with me in that capacity. Silence, heavy and assessing. I can see them weighing their options, calculating the political cost of opposing Jacopo's choice versus accepting a woman barely half their age into a position of power. Marco speaks first. With respect, Miss Ferraro, the consigliere position requires decades of experience. You've been in this world for 4 years. 4 years learning from the best, I counter. 4 years observing every meeting, every negotiation, every strategic decision. I know Mr. Moretti's thinking better than anyone in this room except Mr. Moretti himself. Knowing his thinking isn't the same as being able to advise him, Alessandro adds. When decisions need to be made that affect hundreds of lives, can you handle that weight? It's a fair question. I meet his gaze steadily. 3 weeks ago, I planned and executed an operation that destroyed Salvatore Ferrante and exposed a traitor in our organization. I made decisions that put my own life at risk and leveraged that risk to protect all of us. Can I handle the weight? I already have. Enzo clears his throat. The Ferrante operation was impressive, but being consigliere means more than tactical planning. It means understanding the families, the alliances, the history. No disrespect intended, but you're an outsider. I am, I acknowledge. And that's precisely why I can be effective. I'm not bound by old grudges or traditional rivalries. I can see opportunities that those too close to the history might miss. I pause, then add, the same way I saw that Tommaso was the informant when no one else suspected him. 2 weeks ago, Jacopo had taken me to a meeting with the heads of 3 allied families. I'd sat quietly beside him, observing the dynamics, noting who deferred to whom, who interrupted whom, who made eye contact and who avoided it. Afterward, Jacopo had asked for my assessment. Donati is losing control of his territory, I'd said. The way he kept bringing up past victories instead of current operations. He's trying to remind everyone of former strength because his present strength is failing. Jacopo had looked at me with something like pride. How did you see that? Everyone else thinks Donati is still powerful. Everyone else wants to believe Donati is powerful because they remember him that way. But power is present tense. The moment you have to remind people you're dangerous, you've already lost half your threat. 3 days later, Donati's organization had collapsed under pressure from rivals. Jacopo had positioned himself to absorb the best parts of Donati's territory before anyone else could move. The other families had been caught off guard. You see what others miss, Jacopo had told me. That's worth more than decades of experience. Now, in this conference room, I'm betting that the same principle applies. That these men can see what I bring to the table, even if it makes them uncomfortable. I have a proposal, I say. A trial period. 3 months where I serve as consigliere, during which any of you can bring concerns directly to Mr. Moretti. If, at the end of those 3 months, the majority of you believe I'm not capable of the position, I'll step down. No argument, no politics. I'm offering them an out, a way to accept me temporarily without feeling like they've surrendered completely. It's a calculated risk, but I've learned from Jacopo that sometimes you have to give ground to gain territory. The men exchange glances. Finally, Marco nods. 3 months is reasonable. I can work with that. One by one, the others agree, some reluctantly, some with genuine warmth. By the time the meeting ends, I've secured their conditional acceptance. Jacopo waits until everyone has left before pulling me into his arms. You brilliant, strategic woman. The trial period was genius. I learned from the best. I echo my earlier words, but this time they're just for him. Besides, 3 months gives me time to prove myself before they realize they can't get rid of me even if they want to. His laugh is low and warm. Confident. Realistic. I pull back to look at him. I know what I'm capable of, Jacopo, and I know that once they see it too, they'll wonder how they ever questioned me. That, he says, kissing me thoroughly, is exactly why you're perfect for this position. The next 3 months are a whirlwind of strategy sessions, negotiations, and late nights poring over files. I work alongside Jacopo, learning the nuances of his empire that I'd only glimpsed as his assistant. The real estate holdings that serve as fronts for money laundering, the import businesses that bring in legitimate goods alongside less legitimate ones, the network of officials and lawyers and businessmen, whose loyalty is purchased and maintained through careful pressure and generous rewards. It should disgust me, should make me question what I've become. But instead, I find myself fascinated by the complexity of it all. By the way, Jacopo has built something that functions like a legitimate corporation while serving purposes that exist in the shadows. You're getting better at the moral compartmentalization, Jacopo observes one night as we review contracts in his study at the estate. Is that what we're calling it? I set down the file I'm reading. Accepting that the money I'm helping move comes from sources I'd rather not think about too carefully. That's exactly what we're calling it. He doesn't sound judgmental, just matter of fact. Everyone in this world makes peace with it differently. Some pretend they don't know where the money comes from. Some justify it with philosophy about victimless crimes. Some just don't care. And you? I accepted long ago that morality is subjective. The laws that say what I do is wrong were written by people who had the luxury of inherited wealth and legitimate opportunities. My grandfather didn't have those luxuries. He built what he could with what he had. I've simply refined his work. It's a rationalization, but it's also not entirely wrong. I think about my own family's history, about the prejudices my grandparents faced, the doors closed to them because of where they came from. Jacopo's grandfather had faced similar barriers and chosen a different path through them. I'm not sure I can embrace it the way you have, I admit, but I can accept it as the reality we work within. That's enough. He pulls me into his lap, and I curl against him. I don't need you to become me, Jasmine. I need you to balance me, to see the angles I miss because I'm too close to the darkness. It's the most honest thing he said about why he wants me as consigliere. Not just because I'm capable, but because I bring something different. A perspective shaped by 4 years inside his world, but not consumed by it. 2 months into my trial period, a crisis emerges that tests everything I've learned. One of Jacopo's allied families, the Benedettis, has been skimming profits from a joint venture. The evidence is clear: altered books, phantom expenses, money being redirected to offshore accounts. It's a betrayal that demands response. But the Benedettis are powerful enough that moving against them could trigger a war. Jacopo calls an emergency meeting of his inner circle. I sit beside him, my stomach tight with tension as the men argue over the best course of action. We hit them hard, Alessandro argues. Make an example. Show everyone what happens when you steal from us. That starts a war we might not win, Marco counters. The Benedettis have alliances. We move against them, and we're fighting on 3 fronts. So we do nothing? Alessandro's voice rises. Let them steal from us and show weakness to every other family? Gentlemen, I keep my voice calm, and the room quiets. This is the moment. My chance to prove I belong here. We're looking at this wrong. The Benedettis didn't start skimming recently. Based on the financial records, this has been going on for at least 18 months. Why? Because they're greedy, Alessandro spits. Or because they're desperate. I pull up the files I've been reviewing. Look at their other operations. Declining revenue across the board. Failed investments. They're not stealing from us because they're greedy. They're stealing because they're failing. Jacopo leans forward, his eyes intent. Go on. We don't need to start a war. We need to offer them a lifeline. We restructure the joint venture, take a larger share of control in exchange for absorbing some of their losses. They save face, we gain more power, and everyone who's watching sees that we're magnanimous in victory. And if they refuse? Marco asks. They won't, because the alternative is we expose their failure to all their allies. Better to accept a junior partnership with us than to face humiliation and potential collapse. I meet each man's eyes in turn. This way, we win without firing a shot. We strengthen our position, weaken a potential rival, and demonstrate that working with us is better than working against us. Silence. Then Enzo starts nodding. It's smart. Really smart. It's brilliant, Jacopo says quietly. Marco, reach out to the Benedettis. Set up a meeting to discuss restructuring our partnership. Make it clear it's their only option. The strategy works perfectly. Within a week, the Benedettis have agreed to the restructure, giving Jacopo majority control of their most profitable operations in exchange for financial stability. Other families, watching the maneuver, approach Jacopo about similar partnerships, seeing an opportunity to shore up their own failing enterprises. You just expanded my empire by 20% without a single act of violence, Jacopo tells me that night. That's statecraft, Jasmine. That's what a consigliere does. I just saw an opportunity and took it. No. You saw what everyone else missed because you weren't blinded by pride or tradition or the need to prove dominance. You saw the elegant solution. He pulls me close. The 3-month trial period ends next week. I'm making it official. You're my consigliere. Permanently. Pride swells in my chest. What about the others? Marco, Alessandro, are about to vote unanimously to make your position permanent. I checked with each of them this afternoon. Even Alessandro admitted you've proven yourself. I've done it. In 3 months, I've gone from being Jacopo's assistant to being his equal partner in running his empire. The girl who walked into his office 4 years ago looking for a temporary job could never have imagined this. But that night, as I'm reviewing files in Jacopo's study, my phone rings. Unknown number. My blood runs cold. Hello? Jasmine Ferraro? The voice is unfamiliar. Female. Professional. This is Agent Victoria Russo with the Financial Crimes Division. We need to talk about your employer. My heart stops. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you do. We've been building a case against Jacopo Moretti for 18 months. Financial fraud, money laundering, racketeering. And we have evidence that you've been instrumental in facilitating these activities over the past 3 months. Evidence. They've been watching me, watching us, since I became consigliere. I have nothing to say to you. Then perhaps you'll have something to say to a federal prosecutor. We can offer you immunity, Jasmine. Full protection for you and your sister. All you have to do is testify about Moretti's operations. I'll never... Think about it. We'll be in touch. The call disconnects. I sit frozen, the phone still in my hand. They're coming for Jacopo. For all of us. And they think I'll turn against him to save myself. They have no idea how wrong they are. I tell Jacopo immediately. There's no hesitation, no moment of considering whether I should protect myself first. The second he walks into the study, I'm showing him my phone's call log. The feds contacted me. Agent Victoria Russo, Financial Crimes Division. They have an investigation, and they think I'll cooperate. Jacopo goes very still, his expression turning to stone. What exactly did they say? I relay the conversation word for word, watching his face for reaction. When I finish, he's quiet for a long moment. They're right about one thing. He finally says, "You would be the perfect witness. You know everything, Jasmine. Every file, every transaction, every carefully hidden connection between my legitimate businesses and the rest. If you testified, I'd spend the rest of my life in prison. I would never. I know." He pulls me against him, his arms tight. "I know you wouldn't betray me, but they don't know that, which means they'll keep pushing. Harder pressure, better offers, veiled threats against Julia. Fear ices through me. You think they'd threaten her? I think desperate prosecutors do desperate things." He pulls back to look at me. "I need to make calls. We need to know exactly what kind of case they have, who else they've approached, how deep this investigation goes." Over the next 48 hours, Jacopo's entire network mobilizes. Lawyers are consulted. Officials on his payroll are quietly asked what they know. And piece by piece, we assemble the picture. The investigation is real and extensive. Agent Russo has been building it for 18 months, since before I became consigliere. They have financial records, surveillance, testimony from lower-level associates who've taken deals. But their case has a fatal weakness. They can't definitively connect Jacopo to the illegal activities. Everything is done through intermediaries, shell companies, carefully maintained distance. Unless they get someone from his inner circle to testify. Someone like me. They'll offer you everything, Jacopo's lead attorney explains during an emergency meeting. Immunity, witness protection, money. They'll paint Moretti as a monster and you as a victim who can finally be free. I'm not a victim. My voice is hard, and I'm not interested in their offers. Even if it means going to prison yourself? The lawyer's gaze is assessing. They have evidence of your involvement in financial restructuring over the past 3 months. If Moretti goes down, you could go down with him. The thought of prison terrifies me, but not as much as the thought of betraying Jacopo. Then I go down with him. Something flashes in Jacopo's eyes, fierce pride mixed with concern. "Jasmine." "No." I cut him off. "Whatever we're facing, we face it together. I made my choice when I accepted the consigliere position. I knew the risks. You didn't sign up to go to federal prison. I signed up for you. All of you, including the dangerous parts." I take his hand. "So what's our strategy? How do we protect the organization?" "The plan we develop is complex and risky. We start moving money, restructuring operations, creating distance between Jacopo and anything potentially criminal. It's like performing surgery on a moving patient, cutting away the diseased parts while trying to keep the whole body alive. I work 20-hour days, reviewing every contract, every financial record, every piece of paper that could be used as evidence. Jacopo works beside me, and I watch the strain take its toll. Shadows appear under his eyes. His movements become more tense, more controlled. 3 weeks into our defensive maneuvers, Agent Russo contacts me again. "Miss Ferraro, I'm going to be direct. We know you've been moving money, restructuring operations. That's obstruction of justice. It makes you an accessory after the fact, but our offer still stands. Cooperate with us, and we'll give you immunity for everything. And if I don't cooperate, then we prosecute you alongside Moretti. Is that really what you want? Prison time for a man who's using you just like he uses everyone else?" The accusation stings, but I keep my voice level. "You don't know anything about my relationship with Mr. Moretti. I know that powerful men like him don't actually care about anyone except themselves. I know that when it comes down to it, he'll save himself and let you take the fall. Don't let misplaced loyalty destroy your life, Jasmine. Thank you for your concern, Agent Russo. But I'm not interested in your offer. Don't contact me again." I hang up before she can respond. That night, as Jacopo and I review legal documents in his study, I can feel the weight of his worry. "You should take their offer," he says quietly. I look up sharply. "What?" Immunity, protection, a fresh start. You could walk away from all of this, Jasmine. Be free. I don't want to be free of you. Even if staying means prison? His voice cracks slightly. I can't let you sacrifice your future for me. I set down the papers I'm holding and move to where he sits. Kneeling beside his chair, I take his face in my hands, forcing him to look at me. Listen to me very carefully, Jacopo Moretti. I love you. Not because you're powerful or because I'm trapped or because I don't know better. I love you because you're the only person who's ever seen me completely and valued what they saw. Because you challenged me and trusted me and made me stronger than I ever knew I could be. My thumbs stroke his cheekbones. I'm not leaving you. Not for immunity, not for safety, not for anything. We win this together, or we lose it together. Those are the only options. He kisses me then, desperate and claiming, and I taste fear on his lips. Fear for me, for what I'm risking, for what he might cost me. I don't deserve you, he breathes against my mouth. Probably not, but you have me anyway. The breakthrough comes from an unexpected source. Marco discovers that one of the associates who testified against Jacopo did so under coercion. The feds had threatened his family, manufactured evidence, crossed legal lines to force his cooperation. It's not much, but it's enough to question the integrity of their entire investigation. Jacopo's lawyers file motions, demanding to see the FBI's methods, questioning whether evidence was obtained legally. The investigation that seemed so solid starts to show cracks. And then we get the call that changes everything. Agent Russo has been removed from the case, Jacopo's attorney says, barely concealing his satisfaction. Internal Affairs found irregularities in how she conducted the investigation. The whole case is being reviewed. It's not over. The feds don't give up that easily, but it's a reprieve. Time to shore up our defenses, to make sure there's nothing they can definitively prove. 2 months later, the investigation is quietly dropped. Insufficient evidence, the official statement says. But we know the truth. Jacopo's network of lawyers and officials and carefully maintained leverage did what it was designed to do: protect him from exactly this kind of threat. The night we get the news, Jacopo takes me to the roof of his building. Milan spreads out before us, glittering and beautiful, the city that's become ours in ways I never imagined. We survived, I say, leaning against the railing. We did more than survive. We won. He stands behind me, his arms coming around my waist. Because you refused to break. Russo was counting on you being weak, on you choosing safety over loyalty. She had no idea who she was dealing with. I turn in his arms. I had no idea who I was dealing with either. 4 years ago, when I walked into your office for that interview, I was just looking for a job to pay my sister's tuition. And now I'm the consigliere to Milan's most powerful organization. Now I'm in love with a man who terrifies most people. Now I'm making decisions that affect hundreds of lives. I smile. It's been an interesting character arc. He laughs, the sound warm and genuine. Then his expression turns serious. I have something for you. He pulls out a velvet box. This time, I know what it is before he even opens it. The ring inside is stunning. A large diamond surrounded by smaller stones, elegant and timeless. 4 years ago, you came into my life by accident, Jacopo says. You were supposed to be temporary, an assistant, nothing more, but you became everything. My partner, my equal, the person I trust more than anyone in this world. He takes my hand. I'm not asking you to marry me because I need to possess you or control you. I'm asking because I want the world to know that you're mine by choice, just as much as I'm yours. Tears blur my vision. That's the most romantic thing you've ever said. Is that a yes? It's an absolutely yes. I'm crying and laughing at the same time as he slides the ring onto my finger. I'll marry you, Jacopo Moretti. I'll be your wife and your consigliere and your equal in all things. He kisses me with a passion that steals my breath, and somewhere in the back of my mind, I think about how far I've come. From the frightened woman who ran into his shop to escape danger, to the woman who stands beside him now, fearless and claimed, and absolutely certain of her place. 8 months later, I stand in a private chapel in Sicily, wearing a dress that cost more than my first year's salary. Giulia is my maid of honor, having made her peace with my choices and with Jacopo himself. The chapel is filled with the families, all the powerful men and women who now accept me as one of them, as Jacopo's partner in every sense. When Jacopo lifts my veil and kisses me, sealing vows that will bind us in the eyes of God and the organization, I feel nothing but certainty. This dangerous, complicated, morally ambiguous life is mine by choice, and I wouldn't change a single thing. 6 months after the wedding, I'm in my office. My own office now, adjacent to Jacopo's, when Giulia calls. I got into medical school, she says, her voice bright with excitement. Full scholarship to Johns Hopkins. Pride swells in my chest. Leah, that's incredible. I'm so proud of you. I couldn't have done it without you. The tutors you hired, the prep courses, Jasmine, you made this possible. After we hang up, I sit back in my chair, looking around at my life. The expensive office, the ring on my finger, the files on my desk detailing operations that exist in moral gray areas, the power I wield with a word or a signature. Jacopo appears in my doorway, as if summoned by my thoughts. Good news? Giulia got into medical school. He smiles, genuine and warm. She'll make an excellent doctor. Though she comes from impressive stock, her sister is running half of Milan's underworld after all. Co-running, I correct, standing to kiss him. We're partners, remember? How could I forget? His arms circle my waist. You remind me every time you override one of my decisions in meetings. Someone has to keep you from making impulsive moves. And someone has to encourage you to take necessary risks. We balance each other. It's true. In the year since I became consigliere officially, we've refined our working relationship into something more effective than either of us could be alone. Jacopo provides the boldness and the deep knowledge of tradition. I provide strategy and a willingness to break from convention when needed. Together, we've expanded his empire while simultaneously legitimizing parts of it, moving operations into legal territory where possible, and maintaining careful distance from what can't be legitimized. There's a meeting tonight, Jacopo says. The Calabrian families want to discuss a partnership. I need my consigliere's counsel. The Calabrians are traditional. They won't like taking advice from a woman. Then they'll learn to adjust or find another partner. His voice is firm. You're not negotiable, Jasmine. Not anymore. Anyone who wants to work with me works with us. The casual way he says it, the absolute certainty that I'm his equal in all business matters, still makes my heart flutter. That night, I sit beside Jacopo at the negotiating table, and I watch the Calabrian representatives' faces as they realize I'm not just decoration. I'm the one asking the sharp questions, identifying the weak points in their proposal, pushing for terms that favor us. By the end of the meeting, we've secured a deal that gives us access to southern routes while maintaining control of all decision-making. The Calabrians leave looking slightly stunned. You eviscerated their proposal, Marco says with something like awe after they're gone. I optimized it. I correct. There's a difference. Jacopo's hand finds mine under the table, squeezing gently. Pride and possession in equal measure. Later, at home, the estate that's become ours, filled with both our touches now, Jacopo and I stand on the terrace looking out over the grounds. Do you ever regret it? He asks quietly. The choices you made, the life you left behind. I think about the question seriously, considering the woman I was 4 years ago. The modest dreams, the simple life, the safety of obscurity. No, I say finally. That life was too small for who I was becoming. I just didn't know it until you showed me something bigger. I showed you darkness. You showed me power, choice, the ability to shape my own destiny instead of letting it shape me. I turned to face him. Yes, there's darkness in this life. Moral compromises I have to make peace with. Dangers that never fully disappear. But there's also purpose, partnership, and a love that's more real than anything I ever had before. Even knowing what I am, what we do. Especially knowing, because you've never lied to me about it. You've never pretended to be something you're not. I take his hands. I chose you with my eyes open, Jacopo. I chose the darkness along with the light. I chose all of it. His kiss is answer enough, fierce and possessive, and laced with the kind of devotion that powerful men rarely show. Mine, he breathes against my lips. Yours, I agree, just as you're mine. In the distance, Milan glitters like scattered diamonds, a city we rule together from the shadows. Somewhere out there, people are making deals in our name, moving money through channels we've created, living lives that intersect with our empire in ways they'll never fully understand. And here, on this terrace, I'm exactly where I belong. Not 2 steps behind a powerful man, but standing beside him as his equal. His consigliere, his wife, his partner in building something that will last long after we're gone. 4 years ago, I ran into Jacopo Moretti's shop looking for escape. I found something better. I found home.